Hello and welcome to another video. Today we will be discussing what Hogwarts houses would the Percy Jackson characters belong to. Now, before this video, I feel like I have to give out a little disclaimer, and that is that I do not support J.K. Rowling in any way, shape, or form. But I do think that sorting characters into Hogwarts houses is really fun, so that's what we're going to be doing today. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so first up is Annabeth, and I feel like she is a very hard character to sort into a house because, in my opinion, she could be in either of the houses, any of the houses, except Hufflepuff, because she does not seem like a Hufflepuff to me. She is very brave, undoubtedly. She is cunning and very smart and very resourceful, and she is very creative and wise. But at the end of the day, my system to sort people into Hogwarts houses is what are their motivations. So I think ultimately Annabeth is a Slytherin, and that might be a hot take, a very unpopular opinion, because almost everybody sorts her into Ravenclaw, which was my second choice. But leave a comment down below and tell me where you would put Annabeth. Next up is the one and only god of the sun, Apollo. And I think his character is so clear. He is a jock, Gryffindor. There is no doubt about it. End of discussion. Next up, we have Bianca D'Angelo. And I think Bianca is really a Hufflepuff because she took care of her brother for basically all of their lives, and she was a great sister, and after that she just wanted to be a kid and have friends her age and not have to have that responsibility. And I feel like she's a very people person, so that is why I put her in Hufflepuff. We also don't know a lot about her because she's only in one book, spoiler alert, but I think Hufflepuff is a good fit for her. Next up is Calypso, a character I have very mixed feelings about. But all in all, I think Calypso is a Ravenclaw, honestly, because she's there in that island and she has to entertain herself for like centuries, and I think no one can entertain themselves better when they're alone than a Ravenclaw. She's very good at fixing things with her hands, coming up with things, seeing the world from a different perspective, so I think that's the house that fits her best. Next up is one of my favorites from the original Percy Jackson books, Charles Beckendorf, and I think there are two answers for him. It's either Hufflepuff or Gryffindor, but given the way that Charlie died, I think it's safe to say that he was definitely a Gryffindor, though I would think Hufflepuff would be a nice fit for him as well. Then coming right up is Chiron, our beloved teacher. So Chiron, definitely Hufflepuff or Ravenclaw, but I'm gonna put it in Hufflepuff because I feel like most parental figures just go really well in Hufflepuff, though he does have some Ravenclaw characteristics. Next up is Clarice, and we all know Clarice is definitely Gryffindor or Slytherin. I don't think Clarice is that cunning. I think she's more straightforward, a straightforward, stupid jock, and I think that fits Gryffindor perfectly. Next up, we have Coach Hedge, and that's another undoubtedly Gryffindor character. They just go head first into things and don't really think them through, so a true Gryffindor. Next up, we have Frank, and Frank, I feel like you could either put him in Gryffindor, mostly because of his recent appearance in the Trials of Apollo, but I feel like at the end of the day, Frank is, and will always be a Hufflepuff at heart. Next up, we have our true Hufflepuff, and that is Grover Underwood. He is like the textbook definition of a Hufflepuff. He is just great, and I love him, and yeah, I can compromise on a lot of these characters, but no, I won't compromise on Grover. He is definitely a Hufflepuff. Then we have Hazel Levesque, and Hazel is, I think, a Gryffindor. Now, she thinks things through more than a normal Gryffindor would, and I would also argue that she could be a Hufflepuff, like Frank, but I think she really shows some of her Gryffindor attributes in all of her books because she is super brave, chivalrous, and very loyal, so definitely going into Gryffindor. Next up, we have our favorite brick lover, Jason Grace, and let me tell ya, I'm having a really hard time placing him in any of the houses. Not because he's not my favorite, just because his character is so meh that I'll put Jason in the teachers, and then you can leave your comments down below and tell me where you would put him, because I'm honestly at a loss for words for where to put him. Okay, next up is our favorite lover boy, Leo, Hot Stuff, Supreme. So I think I would undoubtedly put Leo in Ravenclaw. He is not exceptionally brave, he is not very good with people, and he is not cunning or ambitious at all. But he exhibits all of the Ravenclaw traits, so I think there's no question about where to put him. Then we have Luke, and I'm very tempted to put Luke in Gryffindor because he's obviously brave. No one could have done what he did if they weren't brave. He literally had Chronos inside him, and he was the bravest hero at the end of the day. But I think what led him there was his ambition and his Slytherin traits. So definitely goes into Slytherin next to Annabeth. Okay, then we have Nico. And Nico is usually sorted into Slytherin, but I think that's mostly because of aesthetic. And I understand he looks very good in green, but honestly, I don't know where to put him. Would Nico be a teacher? People are gonna get mad at me for saying this, but I don't see him fitting neatly in any of the houses. So for now, Nico would be a great potions teacher, or defense against the dark arts teacher. So there you go. And then we have everyone's favorite character, Octavian, and I wish there were a tier for trash, honestly. But there isn't, so I'm just gonna put him in teachers, and he'd be that defense against the dark arts teacher that just disappears the next year. So there we go, that's where he goes. Next we have Percy Jackson, maybe the most controversial sorting in all of the characters, honestly. People sort him into Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Slytherin, and even some into Ravenclaw, which I completely understand. Percy is very witty, he always finds solutions to hard situations, solutions that nobody else had thought of, and he's also kind of cunning and ambitious. He is very, very loyal, but only to a small number of people, and of course he is super brave. So honestly, I'm at a loss, so I'm gonna save this one till the end. So then let's move on to Piper McLean, who I believe is definitely a Gryffindor because she lets her heart decide, as shown specifically in Blood of Olympus when she is deciding with her heart while Annabeth is deciding with her brain, and I think that is truly a Gryffindor trait. Then we have Rachel Elizabeth Dare, a character who I disliked so much the first time I read the Percy Jackson books, but that's only because she was interfering with my OTP. But now I have come to terms with not hating her, and she definitely goes into Ravenclaw, though a case could be made for Gryffindor, because this girl is literally so brave and so crazy stupid when jumping into situations that are so over her head. But she's definitely a Ravenclaw. I think most artists are Ravenclaw because they see the world from a different perspective. So, yeah. Okay, then we have Reyna Ramirez Arellano. And I think she is either a Gryffindor or a Slytherin. But I think to be where she is in life, you have to be a Slytherin, because you can't get to the point where Reyna is without having been very cunning and very Slytherin-like. So I think all of her ambition sums up to being a very good Slytherin leader. Okay, next up is Sally Jackson, and I think Sally exhibits a lot of Gryffindor traits because she is super brave. She is literally the best mom in fiction, but I think at the end of the day, if she were given the choice, she would choose Hufflepuff. I said Hufflepuff. Okay, because honestly, that's not Sally. That is Selena. Okay, then after that we have Selena, who is kind of a controversial character, although I personally really liked her character and was very sad reading the last Percy Jackson book. But I think Selena is truly... I think she's a Hufflepuff who can have some Gryffindor traits. Because, I mean, the way she sacrificed herself at the end was very Gryffindor, but at the same time very Hufflepuff, because her motivation wasn't being brave alone, it was being brave for Camp Half-Blood, and especially Clarice and the Ares cabin. So I think that was a very Hufflepuff thing to do, and Selena, we thank you for doing that. Selena, you are a great character, and anyone who says otherwise is just wrong. And hot take, she's a superior Aphrodite child. Just leaving that out there. Then we have Thalia, who, no question about it, she's a dumb Gryffindor. And before any one of you comes up in the comments, I'm a dumb Gryffindor, therefore I can call other people dumb Gryffindors. I don't think any explanation is needed to why Thalia is a dumb Gryffindor. She just is. Then we have Tyson. It's the same case as Grover. He is literally the most Hufflepuffiest person there is. You could also put him in Ravenclaw because he does a lot of building and constructing things and very cool machinery, but in his core he is a Hufflepuff. Then we have Will Solis, and I'm sorry, we don't really know that much about Will. He's he's a healer and Nico's boyfriend, and I think he is a Hufflepuff, and I love that headcanon. And finally, well, not finally, lastly, we have Zoe Nightshade, and I think Zoe is a definite Gryffindor. No one would be able to do what she did if they weren't a Gryffindor. She stayed by Artemis's side for so long. She could also be placed in Hufflepuff, but I think she is definitely a Gryffindor, which leaves me to decide where to put Percy. And I'm trying not to be biased, because obviously I want Percy to be in my own house. But I am biased. I'm only human, so there you go. Percy is in Gryffindor. But, you know, he could be in any of the other houses. Maybe I just like Percy being in Gryffindor and Annabeth being in Slytherin, because that is such a cute dynamic. But, yeah. Let me know what you think about how I sorted the Percy Jackson characters into the Hogwarts houses, and let me know if you agree or really disagree with my takes. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye!